Hi, welcome to HeKate's Crossing. Okay, so this is a continuation of my classics decks VR to Dani Mystic. Now the first one I did was the decks that I had repurchased into my collection that I know that I'm not going to get rid of. Now these classic decks that I've chosen, really, these are decks that are never going to leave my collection, and I don't think any of my decks, I mean, I could go on forever with the rest of my collection, but I'm just going to look basically at some of the decks that are definitely definitely are indie decks. Let's start with the indie tarot decks. Okay, the first one I'm going to include is the Tarot del Tango. I mean, I love this. It's very, I know it's Taboo De Marseille style, but it's unique, it's different, the artwork is stunning, it's just really, really unique in its approach to working with tarot in many ways. It's definitely something I'd want to dive a little bit more deeper into. I haven't really dived into the Tango side of the deck really. I've just sort of been reading with it, etc. Another deck I absolutely love is the Maori Tarot, of course. Again, it's unique, it's its own style, it's just beautiful artwork, it's just neat. For example, I love that deck. Another one is the vintage Japanese tarot. I love the artwork from it. It's sort of got that very sort of ancient sort of connection to it. It just feels very old, even though it's a new deck by Bobby Alexander, but it's definitely a cool artwork. The artwork's old, so I love that in that respect. Another deck, of course, is the Waterfall Tarot by Tarot Oracle. Definitely my Rider-Waite-Smith deck that I love. It's just sort of got that real sort of lightness to it. It gives me a real light feeling when I read with it. And the opposite to that is the Rider deck. Now this was given to me as a gift from a very special friend. So again, this is not a deck that I would let go of easily. It's definitely my Rider-Waite-Smith type deck that's a little bit sort of darker antique type energy. So again, it's got that sort of older type. Retro deck for me definitely is Brandt's Moon Baby Tarot. Definitely love it to give that sort of modern, sort of not really modern, a vintage or retro type energy. Gives me that sort of bright, vivid colours. Okay, so another deck here is the Elemental Wisdom Tarot. Now this was given to me as a gift. Love the luxurious of it, love the imagery of it, the cultures of it. It's definitely a deck that would not leave my collection. The Tarot, the Coffee Tarot, again, gift. Definitely, I watched this from the production, from when it began to its, from when it was art to it became a deck, to its sales. So definitely a deck that would not leave, it's not going to leave my collection. Raincoast Pocket Tarot, Christoph James, definitely not going to leave my collection, of course. It's a deck that I just love and adore and just connect with in so many different ways. It's a deck that I sort of can grab, it's on the go, it's nice and tiny. I love the pocket sized decks. I've got a few decks like that. Definitely the New Zealand Naturally Tarot as well is a deck that it's a Game Crafter one. Absolutely love using it. Definitely not going to leave my collection in any way at all. I don't think any of my New Zealand decks would do that. I mean, I have plenty of New Zealand Oracle decks that definitely would not leave my collection either. So, just going through the tarot for the minute. Another tarot deck is the Meraki Tarot. Definitely not going to leave my collection. Very, very special animal deck in that respect. definitely not going to leave as well. I'm just seeing what other ooh, sorry, itchy foot. I don't think I have, just moving the keyboard out of the way. So let's have a look. They're all mass market. I'm not going to worry about mass market decks. Oh, this one here from it's not a deck that I use very often, but I do love it, and that's the Common Tarot by Hand Me That Pencil. It's quite a good sort of learning deck. Unfortunately, the weather in that, it has bowed quite a lot, even though I haven't, so I need to sort of sit something heavy on it and flatten it out. Something I must do. Seraphina's Modern Tarot, definitely not a deck that I use often. I don't think it's available anymore. I think it's an OP deck, out of print deck, but it is a really cool Rider-Waite-Smith modern style deck that I sort of love using as well. Definitely wouldn't get rid of that. Now I'm looking at all my indie decks really at this stage for this section of my classic decks. I'm just checking to see what oh, the Telerik Tarot, of course, not a deck that's going to leave my collection at all. This is done with crystals and plants, quite different, quite unique in its connection. They're all basically mass market decks. I don't want to include those. They're all mass market. It's all mass market. That's all mass market. It looks like that's all mass market. That's all mass market too. Yeah, definitely feel as though the mass market tarot decks are definitely decks. The indie decks. Sorry, the indie decks are definitely decks that I'm not going to leave my collection. Now let's put them away for the moment and see what I can do here. Wow, you know, I have got quite a selection of indie tarot decks that are definitely in my classic deck collection that will definitely not leave my collection in any way whatsoever. So yeah, quite a selection when you look at them like that. Definitely feel as though they're quite special when you look at the indie decks that I have in my collection. They're definitely decks that are not going to disappear. So I would definitely call them my oops, let's just get these back into sync here. Let's put these all back. So yeah, I mean, quite unique, and many of these decks are definitely oh, sorry guys, just trying to so sorry. This weather does not help me at all in any way. So I think that's all the indie tarot decks that are definitely there may be others but that's it for the moment, that are definitely staying in my classics. Okay, so let's have a look at the oracle decks, to me, that are staying in my collection. Okay, so I've got the Echoes of Nature oracle deck that I know that's not a don't think it's available now, but that's it there. Then I've got Shadows of Light, definitely. Okay, and I've got the Raincoast Oracle, and I do have the Raincoast Dreams, definitely 2 decks. That are my classics. Decks that I just couldn't do without, but just decks that are really, I don't know, they're just decks that just I feel drawn to all the time to use when I can, and try and find oracle decks that I find tarot decks that go with these oracle decks. I'm always looking for decks that I just all the time. So we've got Healers of the Earth Oracle. Just trying to find room for them. Healers of the Earth. Now I've got the Uncover Your Past Lives Oracle. Now I use this deck for my soul energy clearing, or clearing of past life energies. So that's a classic that I just wouldn't do without now. Okay, now I've got New Zealand Oracle decks, of course, by Hand Me That Pencil. Now, all her decks, there's just no way that I would want to get rid of any of Hand Me That Pencil's Oracle decks. So it may take me a minute just to sort of go through them. Oh, that was in the originals, I think. I mean, it's very big selection here. I mean, really, I've got so many decks that that are indie decks. I did not realise when you look at all of Hand Me That Pencil decks, there's certainly a lot there. So much. I've got no room at all, of course, to breathe or do anything, but definitely all of Hand Me That Pencil decks. So for example, There Is Always Light. Let's make some space here as we go, because as you can see, there is not a lot of room in my space. So let's do this one back again. Let's get rid of this. Raincoast Dreams. Raincoast Oracle. So just looking at all of my indie decks, these are decks that are never going to leave my collection whatsoever. I mean, to me, they are precious. They are, you know, being in New Zealand, and everybody's noticing it now. I know shipping is expensive no matter where you are in the world now. But everything's within a budget, you know, so it's important that I'm missing a bag. Oh, here it is. So it does feel as though it really is about choosing decks that are, for me and my collection, these are decks that cover certain themes. They're not, I'm not getting any more mass market decks that are going to follow that theme. I mean, the witchcraft theme is quite huge for me in regards to, oh shoot, I need to be a little bit careful there. I have my cream for my feet. I'll just move that out of the way. Oops. Okay, I want to put them on my cards, that's the problem. Okay, so the witchcraft theme is quite big, so you can see that the Witch's Compendium by this one here, Natasha. So this one here is quite a thing. So in regards to Hand Me That Pencil, I have a few of her decks. Songs of My Heart, I've got the Altar and the Ritual, or the Ritual deck and the Learning to Witch deck. So yeah, I'm getting quite a few in the sort of the witchcraft sort of theme. Oh, here's the Altar one. And then there's an animal deck, I Know She Whispers the Truth, and I've got Mama Young. So I'm not going to show you all of her decks. I can do a different video on Hand Me That Pencil decks, witchcraft decks and things like that. But there's quite a lot of decks that really do quite a lot that are real classics for me that I'm not going to sort of let out of my sight. Definitely feel quite connected to them. So it's quite interesting when you start sort of pulling all your decks out and you just can't really say, oh my god, I'm not going to, you know, you get to that stage where you just don't want to let any of those decks go because they really are precious. I mean, from the New Zealand artist, Hand Me That Pencil, definitely would not let any of those decks go. Definitely are decks that are my classics, definitely decks that I'm going to hold on to, and for any reason. So, I mean, I feel like I'm going on and on and on about the amazing indie decks, and definitely any of my indie decks are definitely not going to be given away for any reason. They're definitely decks that can stay in my collection. I'm not really, when I think about it, even all of my mass market decks are not decks that are going to disappear out of my collection, because to me they are total special decks. They're all decks that I've chosen for a specific reason. They're not decks that I'm going to just give away. I mean, every deck in my collection has a purpose, has a reason for being there. I've been reading tarot for over 20 plus years, so every deck I've chosen for a specific reason. So let's get into the mass market decks. I mean, definitely David Bowie, the Starman Tarot, the Labyrinth Tarot, all those decks to me are really, really important. Supernatural Tarot, now this is one deck I've got two of, so definitely not going to leave my collection, definitely one that I'm going to like. Anything like that, TV series that I really enjoy, like the Supernatural Tarot, and then the to do with David Bowie, definitely David D'Angelo's did a really, really good job collaborating with David Bowie and really allowing that connection to come through the art with the sacred geometry and energy wise and everything like that, the chakra work, and it's just amazing. And then you've got the Labyrinth, which again, David Bowie movie, I couldn't, you know, it's a classic from my childhood, definitely couldn't let that go as well. Now, in regards to Taboo De Marseille, basically this antique collection, definitely is a deck that I love using. I love that sort of antique-y type look and feel to the cards. I love those colours, I love the feel of it. It feels very luxurious, it feels very special. So that's definitely a beautiful deck to work with. Now, traditionally in my Taboo De Marseille, I love my Spanish Tarot. I think that it's a deck that I'm keep grabbing all the time. That one and the Ancient Italian, actually. I mean, the Ancient Italian I absolutely love in regards to, oops, not that one. It's a Taboo De Marseille. Definitely are the two style decks, the Spanish Tarot and the Ancient Italian and the Antique. Again, I love that sort of antique type feel to it. I think they're quite special and quite unique to me as a classics. See, I actually love all of Jane Wallace's decks as well. I think they're fantastic. I mean, you've got I've got a few in her collection, of course, with the Magical Nordic. Oops, the Magical Nordic, the Crystal Power. Just trying to pull these out. Crystal Power. Moon and Stars. And I've got the Oceanic Tarot. So definitely those mass market decks definitely don't want to leave my collection at all. Really, I feel like I'm going through sort of everything. It's just like a real connection to decks. Everything in my collection has a specific purpose. I certainly can't see myself, like the two Tarot decks I've got, the Gilded Tarot Royale and the Tarot Decorative, definitely two decks absolutely love. In colour wise, I like them with the Oracle Visions that I've just got in, but I love it with the Gilded Riviera Lennard. So I love the Field Tarot. Look, when I look at all my collection of decks, like I said, everything's got a purpose, everything's got a reason to be there. It's very, very hard for me to say, hey, look, I'm just going to get rid of these decks, because they all hold a, like even the deck of heroes that I've got and the Romantic Tarot, definitely feel as though they are decks that aren't going to leave my collection anytime soon. So let's just put them back in. But they just feel amazing. It just feels all those decks have a real purpose to my collection. The Universal Celtic. You know, like I said, really, really hard for me to say that they are going to leave my collection anytime soon. Okay, so one deck I think I will definitely is the Muriel. I think that's a really good sort of classic deck that is always going to be there. I think the other one would be the even though I don't use this a lot, would be Mother Peace. I know this is just a mini set, but definitely, even though I don't use it a lot, it's definitely a deck that I will just not let it out of my collection. So really, I think, okay, so let's have a look at the latest deck, I think, which I'm going to do, the newest one in my collection, which I think I'm going to really enjoy diving deep into, is the Erotic Tarot. And I'm not going to go into too much detail because of the cards, but the Erotic Tarot, you can see unboxings and things like that on my channel, and the Pleasure Oracle. Now they're my latest two. Definitely feel as though they're going to sort of be quite strong in my collection, and I definitely wouldn't want to get rid of those. Okay, so that's it for me. I've been speaking for more than 20 minutes. I've got a whole lot of other decks I could add as well to being my classics. I could ramble about my collection, but like I said, all my decks in my collection have a reason for being there. I really don't feel as though I have got anything that's going to leave my collection at this time. But that's enough for today. That's it from me. Don't forget to check the links down below, check the links on my channel, like, subscribe and ring the bell so you know when the next video